Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you hear me.
Yes, Dr. Kalisti.
Yes, we already started. We
Good
have
morning.
already lost a few minutes. So let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Ministry of Water and Environment through the Water Resources Institute to invite all of you for our last webinar in a series of webinars. And this webinar is on one of the sub-themes of the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2026. I'm called Dr. Kalisti Ndimugaya. I'm a commissioner in the Ministry of Water and Environment. And I'm happy to be moderating this webinar. And this webinar is focusing on leveraging the power and capacity of women, youth, and children in delivery of water and environment services. And we have distinguished speakers who will help us to get to appreciate why this sub-theme is important. But before I invite them, I would like to highlight that, as we always do, keep your mic muted until you are invited to speak. And later on, we'll be having opportunities for questions, but you can put the questions in the chat as the presentations are going on, so that they can be responded to by the speakers or by anybody that will be responsible. And at the end of this webinar, we shall have a few minutes for recapping of what has transpired over the last 5 webinars. So again, bear with us. We might slip over beyond 1 hour as we recap. Would all of us want to know, those who were not part of the previous webinars, to know what has taken place and what it means for the Uganda Water and Environment Week. And these webinars are a precursor to the Uganda Water and Environment Week. They are meant to get all of us appreciate why the Uganda Water and Environment Week is important and why we should participate. And on this note, I would like to introduce our speakers, distinguished speakers. We have Madame Jacinta Nekesa, who is the Executive Director of Environmental Art. And Environmental Art coordinates all the civil society organizations that are dealing with environment and natural resources. And we also have Mr. Edwin Muhumuza, who is the CEO of Youth Go Green, but is also the chair of the Youth Subcommittee of the Uganda Water and Environment Week. They will take us through their presentations, and after that, we shall open the floor for comments. And without any further ado, let me invite Madame Jacinta Nekesa to take the floor and make your presentation. After that, then Edwin will come in. Over to you, Jacinta.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalisti. Francis, are you able to put up the presentation, or you want me to do it on my end?
Madam Jacinta was requesting that maybe you could project from your side.
Okay, let me do so.
Thank you so much.
Let me know whether you're able to see it.
Yes, Jacinta, I'm seeing it personally. I hope the others are seeing it, so you can proceed.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, colleagues who have joined this meeting physically and online. I've been introduced before. I'm called Jacinta Nekesa. I work with Environmental Art as the team leader. Good to speak to you this morning, and thank you for the opportunity, the Water Resources Institute. So as Dr. Kalisti said, we are speaking about leveraging the power and capacity of women, youth, and children in the delivery of water and environmental services. That picture you're seeing on the first slide is one of the engagements we have had with the youth in the past year when we brought them together in a dialogue to speak about issues of climate change. And we had also officials from UNODC and from the ministry speaking to the youth and making presentations. So in terms of my structure of presentation, I'll just talk briefly about environmental alert for those who may be interacting with environmental alert for the first time. I'll look briefly at some statistics on youth, women, and children in Uganda. When we talk about the youth, how do we define the youth? I'll speak through a few challenges that are currently facing this category of people. I'll look at the opportunities for engaging youth, women, and children, the approaches we use as environmental alert for purposes of learning with all of us, and the benefits of engaging youth, women, and children, and then I conclude. Environmental Alert is a local NGO founded way back in 1988, fully registered in 1993. We focus majorly on advancing sustainable natural resources management and climate change. We promote evidence-based advocacy and citizen participation in decision-making processes, including participation of the youth. We do lots of work around empowering communities and youth with skills for sustainable resource management. We also contribute to international initiatives, bringing local knowledge into global climate action and sustainable development dialogues. For example, last year we brought the youth together into dialogue to have an input into the position paper that CSOs submitted to Government of Uganda, Ministry of Water and Environment, as the ministry was planning to participate in the COP30 in Brazil. So we ensure that we bring the youth on board and ensure that their voice is heard. As Environmental Alert, we work in 4 thematic areas: sustainable agriculture, addressing issues of food security, environment and natural resources management, water sanitation, hygiene, and climate change, with the issues of gender, women, youth being cross-cutting across these different thematic areas. We work in several districts across the country, but currently we are more into the Albertine region. And besides the work we do as Environmental Alert, we also host networks. For example, the Environment and Natural Resources CSO network. We host another small network called ProLinova. ProLinova is promoting local innovations in agriculture. We also host the Uganda Forestry Working Group, and then REXO. REXO is a renewable energy CSO network. So all of these 4 networks, you'll find we are coordinating work of over 200 CSOs. In terms of a bit of statistics about youth, women, and children, I looked at the census report for 2024, which is one of the most recent documents we have by Government of Uganda. Of the 45.9 million Ugandans, we find the percentage of females is about 51.4. The working age population is about 56.7. The unemployment rate nationally is 12.6. And when you look at this 12.6, 14.5 are females who are unemployed, which is a big majority. Youth not employed, not in education or any training, are about 50.9%. Unemployment rate, especially for the youth, is 14.5% for females and 10.7% for males. So as you can see, more females are unemployed. In terms of disability prevalence, 3.4 of our population are disabled or live with disability. In terms of children, how many of our population is children? And they categorize this in different, there's 0 to 17, but also there's 14 to about 24. But when you see 0 to 17 is about 49.9% of our population. So much of our population is children under 18. Then the youth population, when we look at those who are aged like 18 to 30, they are 23.5. And then the literacy rate for the youth is 81.6%, looking at this age bracket of 18 to 30. What are these statistics showing us? That a big part of our population are children, they are women, and they are youth. And this is what we categorize as some of the most marginalized of our population. In terms of challenges that are currently facing the youth, there are very many, but I've just singled out a few. One is lack of proper participation for the youth, women and children, to be able to engage on issues that affect them, such as water, environment, climate change. So the spaces for them to be able to engage, be able to voice their issues and concerns, and be able to be heard are very limited. And then also, secondly, we find that the youth, women and children are not well organized. To be able to engage with them, you would expect that they are more organized in groups, youth groups or women groups, but quite often they are not very well organized. So reaching out to them then becomes a bit of a challenge. Then thirdly, also, we generally find that because they don't have these platforms for expressing themselves, but also for being engaged, then there's limited involvement of the youth, women, and children in decision-making processes. For example, they will not be involved in planning for the delivery of services. They will not be engaged on the issues of the environment and climate change. And because of this, you'll find that their voice is very limited in terms of planning and implementing and delivery of services. So what are some of the opportunities then for engaging the youth, women, and children? One of the opportunities is employment opportunities in terms of green jobs. Water and sanitation, water and environment service delivery, but also they could be involved in related enterprises. I just gave here some examples. For example, they could be engaged as borehole maintenance and pump mechanics. They could be involved in small-scale kiosks, like selling water. They could be engaged in sanitation marketing, for example, in latrine construction and the promotion of hygiene products. On the right here is a training we're conducting last year. We have a project that is going on in Midwestern, and it involves engaging with youth. It involves engaging with women and children in schools. So we're training the women on how to make liquid soap and how to make reusable menstrual pads. And I recall when this training happened, one of the ladies said, "Oh, I see a business opportunity, and I'm going to start making soap and selling it to the community members." So such enterprises then provide opportunity for engaging with the youth and women. Such enterprises that are related to water and environment. They could also be engaged in waste management services, what we call also the circular economy, for example, plastic recycling, fecal sludge management, waste to energy solutions, and so on. Then we also talk about the green economy and climate-related jobs like tree planting, forest restoration, climate-smart agriculture. We also have what we call nature-based solutions like beekeeping, ecotourism, such enterprises that are very friendly to the environment. Those are opportunities for engaging with the youth. The other opportunity is also education, skills development, and innovation, where I would think about opportunities such as water and environment related careers at university level, for example, or technical institutes. The picture on the right there is showing our engagement with the youth and students from MOOBs, where they approached us and wished to come and learn from environmental art. So all these are opportunities for engaging the youth, but also engaging them as innovators. They could be engaged, for example, in promotion of smart irrigation systems. I talked about plastic recycling businesses and so on. But the other opportunity is also access to funding and support from programs of donors. Many programs and donors have come up targeting the youth. We have, for example, Government of Uganda livelihood programs, which are ongoing. We have NGO grants. We have many other donors who are interested in working with the youth, and all those are opportunities. In terms of approaches, based also on our experiences as an organization, what are some of those approaches we've used to engage the youth and women and children in water and environment? One is to create child or youth specific spaces for engagement through organized groups such as school health clubs, but also we have what you call school environment clubs. So these pictures are just showing you some of the work we've done together, working closely with the Ministry of Water and Environment. We are running currently a national tree planting campaign called Roots, which is running out of trees. So here on the left, we shows Commissioner Issa from the ministry was speaking to children in one of the city schools in Jinja City last year and trying to sensitize them about tree planting, how to plant trees, what kind of trees we should be planting, and so on. And being a city school, you can see it was bare of trees. So we use that as an opportunity to involve the children and the teachers in greening their school. And then on the right here, you see Talia. Talia is one of our champions. So the other approach we are using is using champions like her to promote the environment and tree planting programs. So she's aged about 12 years, and she's running a campaign, what she called a 1 million tree program, appealing to different stakeholders to work with her to promote this in communities and schools. The other approach we are using as an organization is through virtual exchanges and events at local, national, and international levels, where we engage the youth in global, like getting the youth from the global north and global south to engage, for example, on issues of climate change and gender, but using what we call digital technology or online engagements. So the picture here is showing you one of those engagements we had like face-to-face. So we've been organizing face-to-face engagements with the youth here, but in partnership with the other partners that we have been working with on this program. Some are in Kenya, Tanzania, others are in Europe, in Italy, for example, and Austria. They also get the youth. And then through online engagement, they're able to meet, they're able to exchange ideas, they're able to speak to each other, presentations are made, and then they're able to learn from each other. So that's one of the approaches also we've been using. So we also organize physical dialogues, like I was showing you the picture on the first slide. Such dialogues is specifically targeting the youth to ensure that we bring the youth, especially from higher institutions of learning like Makerere, Chambogo, Busitema, and the other universities. But also being deliberate in targeting women and youth with water and environment development programs. So in the programs, in the projects that we are implementing, ensuring that when we go out to the communities, you're actually looking out for women groups or looking out for youth groups and engaging them and ensuring that they benefit from these development programs. We also do lots of capacity building for youth and women using approaches such as storytelling, theater, graphics, and pictures, but also ensuring that we work closely with the youth organizations. For example, I talked about the networks that we coordinate, the Environment and Natural Resources CSO network. That network has also got some youth organizations that are members. So anything to do with the youth, we have one program which is running, for example, with funding from EU through UNODC, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and we are working with them to engage youth and women against forest crime. So also targeting organizations that are focusing on youth is one approach which works. Then, of course, ensuring that we organize experience sharing and learning visits for the youth. In terms of benefits, what are the benefits of increasing representation of this category of people in water and the environment programs? One, it will make them more sustainable. We know that when you engage the women, for example, in management of water sources, then because they are the most affected when there's no water, they tend to take care and facilities are more sustainable. But also when you engage with the youth and children, there are better education outcomes, particularly for those programs in schools. Thirdly, there is also economic empowerment and job creation. I talked about the green jobs. And if this happens, then you're reducing unemployment, you're increasing income, you're reducing poverty. Fourthly, there is also stronger climate resilience, including protection of the environment and youth being guarding against environmental shocks that come with climate change. There is also progress towards gender equality, ensuring that there is social inclusion, there's improved governance and accountability, there's innovation and technology advancement. For example, I told you we engage them online, and youth are very good with social media and these online approaches or technologies. Then lastly, the other benefit would be environmental protection and sustainable ecosystems. In conclusion, engaging youth and women in water and sanitation sector in Uganda brings socio-economic, environmental, and governance benefits, which eventually contribute to achieving Uganda's tenfold growth strategy. So let's go for it. Let's engage the youth. Let's work with women. Let's work with children, especially in schools. And as we all know that children are always change agents. Let us strengthen and support women-led and youth-led organizations and networks so as to cooperate with them to change the world and specifically change Uganda. Thank you so much, Chair. That's the end of my presentation. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Jacinta. Let's give her an applause, although we are online. So thank you very much for the brilliant presentation. Again, a question for Jacinta, post them in the chat. If we have a few minutes, we'll allow for people to speak out and raise their questions. Let me now invite Mr. Edwin Muhumuza, with the CEO of the Youth Go Green and also the chairperson of the Youth Subcommittee, to take the floor and deliver his presentation. Over to you, Edwin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kadist. I want to greet you all, colleagues online. As Doctor says, my name is Edwin Humza, the Chief Executive Officer of the Youth Go Green, but also the chairperson of the Uganda Water Environment Week Youth Subcommittee. Happy to see very many young people on this platform, and I'm really happy that you have joined. I welcome you, but also take the opportunity to thank the ministry for giving us an opportunity to, as young people, to be part of this discussion. This is a high-level engagement. We must appreciate government for giving us this very important window where we can express our perspectives as young people and share solutions to this process. I will equally project my presentation, but maybe indeed, like what Jacinta shared, I would be happy maybe also for those who have no idea about us, I would like to, in a few minutes, just to share who we are. Just to have people know what Youth Go Green is and what we do. We are a leading organization of young people.
Edwin, you can put in full presentation mode if you can.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Is that much better now? Very good. Is it in a full presentation now? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Very good. So we are a leading organization of young people that is advancing environment and climate action in Uganda. We have a few strategic program areas. We have interventions around climate adaptation and mitigation. And we support community resilience programs. We engage young people in climate smart agriculture and ecosystem restoration and biodiversity. And we implement a number of restoration activities, including tree growing, community conservation programs, among others. Our other thematic area or strategic program area is on green growth and circular economy. Here we promote sustainable waste management, recycling, and of course, green entrepreneurship. We are also trying to engage young people in renewable energy and green transition, energy transition. And our organization is supporting young people, especially around promoting clean energy solutions, as well as renewable energy awareness and adoption. Our other very important strategic program area is around youth empowerment and climate governance, where we strengthen youth participation in policy dialogues, climate governance processes, and environmental decision-making. Our other particular program area is on children and youth skilling and innovation. On this particular program area, we focus on building capacity of young people, children and youth, especially around green skills, innovation capacity, environmental leadership among young people and children. Our other new program area and special focus is on green economy and sustainability. As an organization, we convene an annual CEO's breakfast meeting on green economy and sustainability. It is a high-level platform that brings together government leaders, corporate entities, private sector, government partners that advance ESG principles and sustainability leadership. Under those thematic areas, we have done quite a number of activities. We have implemented a number of programs, including the CEO's breakfast meeting. We created a Youth and Children Climate Academy. This is a climate leadership platform and learning platform that is equipping children and youth with knowledge, skills, values, and environmental stewardship. Under this academy, we also have a mentorship program. I'm very happy to see most of our young people are recognizing some of us for the mentorship we have taken them through. We create and give them opportunities for internship and also mentor them to be our future climate and environment leaders. With the Ministry of Water and Environment through the Uganda Water and Environment Week, we initiated the National Youth Debates on Water, Environment and Climate Change. That was around in 2018, and we must appreciate the ministry for giving us this opportunity to take lead and oversee the National Youth Debates, which happened during the Water and Environment Week, and they happen regionally and nationally. And this is mainly to engage young people to promote environmental governance and policy engagement. So these debates are very critical, and we're happy that we have successfully conducted such policy platforms. We recently launched our National Green Schools and Restoration campaign nationally, and this is an initiative that is promoting environmental education, school tree growing programs, ecosystem restoration activities, And we have a target of planting and growing 20 million trees by 2030. And on this particular one, we have decided to mobilize to reach out to 20 million youth to plant and grow 20 million trees. We want to give an opportunity for each young Ugandan to plant at least a tree in their school, home, and everywhere where they can have space. We recently also launched our Young Forest Champions initiative in collaboration with the FAO Forestry in Uganda and Italy. And this is a youth-led forest landscape restoration where we are empowering young people to lead conservation efforts, but also providing them with training, mentorship, and technologies like remote sensing to restore landscapes and monitor ecosystems. We have done this pilot project in one of the forest range reserves in Uganda. For instance, Mpanga Forest, which we did a restoration program in collaboration with the National Forest Authority. We have our signature program that promotes and advances the domestication and localization of sustainable development goals. And this is an SDG run or a marathon, which is an annual engagement that brings together stakeholders that are advancing sustainable development goals or the 2030 agenda. And this is a unification process that we want to bring together Ugandans to promote and contribute to the implementation of the agenda. We work with the ministry, with various ministries of government, including the Office of the Prime Minister, in convening such a very important program. We have established clubs in schools, primary and secondary schools, but also chapters in different universities. I will not go into this process, but that's a brief about what we have done, maybe a few of the pictures that can tell you what we have done. You'll find more of these pictures in my main presentation, which I will be talking about in line with the sub-theme 4. So allow me to end this one here, close it up, and then share the major presentation. Yes, so in line with this theme for today, leveraging the power and capacity of women, youth, and children in the delivery of water and environment services. I was mainly looking at the youth and children perspectives in Uganda. And my colleague Jacinta, of course, has given us a background and context of how our environment is looking like at the moment, in terms of statistics, in terms of what has been lost, in regards to degradation, what Uganda is losing in terms of the forest cover, the wetland coverage, land degradation, climate change, and all that. So I may not really get into this because at least Madam Jacinta has already given us this kind of the background context. But you can see what is happening. A lot of charcoal burning happening in the countryside. Most of the central forest reserves have been degraded, whereas we must appreciate Forest Authority, which has been now rationalized, but at least they have made an effort to do a lot of restoration of these forest reserves. But also appreciating the Ministry of Water and Environment for the various programs, interventions that they're undertaking, like for instance, the IFPA project. It's really doing a lot of biodiversity conservation activities. A lot of activities are happening. Restoration of wetlands. There's already a very good model program that is happening in the eastern part where there I'm sorry, my network was it's a bit tricky. I hope I'm able to speak to you all. Let me
Yes,
reshare.
Edwin, we are hearing. You can continue.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. So I will be happy to look at the Uganda's demographic reality. What is happening? Of course, also Jacinta gave us um, uh, all that is happening around the demographics. I may not really repeat all this, but you can see the young people are holding the largest population segment with the 30 years and below, and over 75 of Uganda's population is under the age of 30. But also, when you look at the job market at the moment, and statistics also indicate that nearly between 700 and 1 million young people enter the labor market. So this means that young people are not a small stakeholder group, they're actually the majority. And I'm happy that this is happening and will continue to advance this process. When you look at what UNICEF Uganda WASH reports indicate, they show that children are disproportionately affected by unsafe water, sanitation, which is contributing to preventable diseases and school absenteeism. This demographic reality makes young people integration into the service a key priority. Okay, my focus is also on youth and children. Why do we focus on young people? Young people are not waiting.
Edwin, it looks like your network is not good. Is it okay if I could project for you?
Francis, I think project for Edwin so that he's able to speak, although it seems to be off. As we wait for Edwin to return, I think he's trying. Maybe we could see if there are questions, comments for Jacinta. So when Edwin comes in, he will resume his presentation. But in case there's any comment, question, Jacinta, there are some questions in the chat. Maybe you could respond to these as we see whether Edwin comes in.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. I've seen there's someone called Michael. Just a moment, let me confirm.
Michael, I think Michael
Michael,
Wandusi, you
yes,
can go ahead.
Michael.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Michael said he's passionate about environmental conservation and climate change mitigation, and that he's working on tree planting projects in Manafa district in eastern Uganda, aiming at restoring ecological balance and promoting sustainable development. Michael, this is a very good initiative, and thank you so much. We have other Laudato Si programs that are running here and the other parts of Uganda. So good to know you're making a contribution. What would request you to do if you can share with me in the chat your contact, so we we will include you on the WhatsApp group for the Running Out of Trees campaign. And so you become part of the family, but also you're able to, we meet regularly, like bi-weekly. So on that group, we are able to share with each other about what each of us is doing, but also would like to capture whatever you're doing as an individual into a report so that we know the contribution you're making to the targets by government of Uganda of restoring up to 2.5 million hectares of degraded landscapes by 2030.
Jacinta, can I suggest that we leave it at this? You'll continue. I think Edwin said is back.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and be looking through the questions. You only respond the questions, the comments. We'll take note of them. You can post in the chat. So Edwin, are you there? Francis, is Edwin back? He had told me he was back. Not as yet. Francis, do you see Edwin there? Okay. Edwin, when you come back, you speak out and we allow you to come in. Maybe Jacinta, you could do. You could just respond to any question, just the comments, you leave them, just respond to where there's any question very fast, and we move on.
There was a question from Perry. She was asking whether she wanted to know the plans we have for International Day of Forests, which is 21st March, linking to the theme of this year, which is forests and the economies. And I want to respond and tell her that we are organizing several activities, including an online engagement. The week before the Uganda Water Week, we have an online engagement with the youth women and to discuss issues of forest governance. So we'll be sending information to all those who may be interested in joining this discussion through also the Water Resource Institute. And then we are also organizing a webinar. As you are aware that this day is falling on a weekend, it will be a Saturday. So within the week itself, we are organizing not a webinar, but a side event. And again, we will be sharing information about this event so that you can come and be part and parcel of the discussions. The ministry is also organizing a specific event as part of commemoration of this day under the Roots campaign. And when we organize it, like we did last year, we also integrate some tree planting so that we are just not talking about trees, but we actually get involved in the actual planting. So that's what we are planning for the week and for that day. I'm still looking at others if they are there. There was one also from Geoffrey. He asked whether we have any initiative as Environmental Alert to ensure that women and young people can tap into the carbon spaces. Currently, we don't, but with the engagement with other donors such as GIZ, we are planning for projects that we wish to engage people, especially women and young people who benefit from wetlands, and see if they can be involved in oh, he's back, so I will allow him to continue.
Edwin is back, so Francis share the presentation. Sorry, Edwin, for the network. So Francis, can you share the presentation? So Edwin, you could resume as
Yes,
Francis
thank you so
prepares
much.
the presentation. Yes.
My apologies, colleagues. I got a disconnection here, but I'm back, and I hope everybody is listening to me. My apologies, and thanks, Jacinta, for filling up the gap, and also, sharing, continuing to share. But thank you, Francis. If you can project my presentation, that would be great, or I can continue to submit. Yes, I was looking at the demographic reality, what is happening. I had moved on to why should we focus on children and youth, particularly for this engagement. And colleagues and members listening to me, I want to tell you that young people have been empowered and they are already taking action in this process. Yes, exactly. That is the presentation. So young people are already on the move. They are already restoring some of the degraded landscapes. There are young innovators who are already designing water harvesting technologies. If you go in the countryside, you'll find that quite a number of youth are already undertaking a number of initiatives. Even at their schools, you find that there are very many school children who are already leading climate hubs. As you can see, even the photos on the side, you see that young people are already advancing the 2030 agenda by creating much awareness. So the youth are already moving on, the children are already making actions. There are youth groups already into recycling. They are already undertaking a number of plastic recycling processes. However, when we look at the youth engagement, the issue is not whether the youth are capable, but the issue is whether the systems are actually structured to integrate them meaningfully. You can go to another slide, Francis. Continue on another slide. Okay, yeah, so let's look at the current gap. So despite the strong engagement, youth participation remains largely project-based. For example, many young people are invited to events like this one, but they are rarely invited for planning meetings. You find that it's of recent that government has really tried to bring them closer to the planning, platforms. But previously, you'd find that they are uninvited to fill up the gaps, especially when it comes to events. So this is a very big gap, and it's a very big challenge when it comes to inclusivity and making sure that the young people know what they want. Youth projects receive more grants but lack long-term financing. There is no single youth-led project that you'll find it given a long-term financing package. You'll find that they may be given those small grants. If there are calls, you find that the calls will be coming in, but with a small amounts of financing. Youth innovations are showcased but not scaled. You find that very many young people have their own projects. They have very many innovations. They are showcased, they are shown, but then they are not scaled up. You can't find them in different parts of the country or the regions. So we must move from symbolic participation to structured partnerships. Next, Francis. Yes, I was also looking at the youth in water service delivery. According to the Ministry of Water and Environment, Performance Report 2023, it indicates that rural water access stands approximately 70%. The functionality of water points remains a challenge in some regions. Operational and maintenance gaps also persist. However, when youth are fully engaged, they can play a very key role, especially in maintenance of water infrastructure, solar-powered pump installations, digital water monitoring solutions. Across Uganda, very many youth-led enterprises are increasingly involved in renewable energy and water technologies. Yet access to public procurement remains limited. So colleagues, yes, we must appreciate that there are very many young innovators across the country, and they are doing very well in terms of providing solutions to the current challenges. But again, they are not fully utilized. Their potential is not fully tapped into. And that is why sometimes we call up some of these platforms and government institutions to really have young people build their capacity, engage them so that they can be able to deliver to their potential, full potential. For instance, through Youth Go Green, we have been able to train some of the young people in climate smart practices that protect water and resources, reduce pressure on ecosystems. When you look at the pictures on the right, I think on the right, we mobilized our students in universities. Every university we have got a chapter. And here we were restoring one of the degraded water catchment areas, or one of the largest wetland, River Rizi. This is the River Rizi catchment, and we mobilized students from different universities, and we took on the mantle of restoration of this degraded water catchment area. That's why we're saying we needed also to look at the possibility of making sure that the young people are fully involved and meaningfully participate in these processes. Francis, you can go to another another slide. Yes, youth innovation in water solutions. Youth innovation is one of the Uganda's strongest assets. At Youth Go Green, like I've said, we have trained very many young people in providing climate smart irrigation practices. We have a model project that is ongoing in one of the southeastern districts in Chiruhura, and then we are now scaling it to Uganda and going to the other cattle corridor districts. And we appreciate some of the government institutions, particularly Ministry of Water and Environment. It provided us with drilled water, and now we are trying to bring young people to learn some of these climate smart irrigation practices. We have been working with the NADS, which has phased out and merged with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we trained our young people in climate smart installation of irrigation practices, but also we supported water conservation awareness campaigns. We have promoted plastic recycling initiatives. And our young innovators are developing mobile tools. Like I've already told you, one of the projects that we are doing with Fire Forestry, we have trained young foresters on how to use the remote sensing technologies, and this is something that we continue to do, and that is why we're saying that young people should be able to we should build the capacity of young people to understand some of these processes. So what is missing is the access to capital and policy integration. So in this process, if young people are fully empowered, know what they want to do, but also finance their activities, then that will probably give them an opportunity to contribute to water, environment, and climate change challenges. We're also looking at youth in ecosystem restoration. As you're aware, Uganda is part of the Bond Challenge, and it's been one of those targets that it gave it. So for instance, in Uganda, the government gave itself a target of planting 40 million trees, and this process is ongoing. However, it requires that we needed also to engage people, especially the youth who have got the energy to contribute to these restoration campaigns. Such a campaign to be very successful, it requires labor, community engagement, local ownership. And when you look at young people, they are uniquely positioned to provide all the above. According to FAO 2022, Food and Agriculture Organization statistics, youth engagement in sustainable agriculture improves the adoption of climate resilience practices when supported by training and access to resources. We have tried to promote programs, and we have mobilized young people and engaged them in tree planting activities, in climate smart agriculture training, plastic pollution, and of course, campaigns that are looking at reducing plastics. So these are not isolated activities, they are contributing to the ecosystem recovery. Francis, next slide. The next slide I know is around youth and green jobs. Yes, youth and green jobs. I know Jacinta also covered some of these aspects, especially looking at how young people are involved in this. But when you look at what ILO Labor, the National Labour Organization estimates that the transition to green economy could create millions of jobs globally. In Uganda, Of course, we are looking at the NDP4, which emphasizes green growth and environmental sustainability as drivers of inclusive development. Green jobs pathways include solar installation. So for the young people involved in green jobs, for instance, you find them that they are learning about a number of initiatives like solar installation systems, waste recycling enterprises, sustainable irrigation systems, restoration enterprises, but also environmental compliance services. So if youth are strategically trained and financed, the water and environment sector can be a major employment engine. You can see on some pictures on the side, we have really tried to engage young people, train them in some of these practices. And this is something that we'll continue to do, ensuring that we deliver success around water and environment programs. Francis, you can give me the next slide. Yes, why should we engage children early? And that's why we must involve young people as early as 5 years. The reason as why we engage our children early is that they influence households. When children learn about water conservation at school, they carry those messages home. Through school-based programs, environmental clubs, climate education, we are nurturing a long-term stewardship. That's why we must engage our children as soon as possible. This is not just education, it is a preventive environmental management. And that is why we must appreciate some government entities that have really, really supported the children's involvement in these practices. We can give me another slide for this. Yeah, so for instance, when you look at schools, schools are very good platforms because they are centers of sustainable water management and environment practices. Schools, their pupils and students are learning on rainwater harvesting systems, they are establishing school nursery beds, they are running waste segregation programs, and so on. And I'm happy to say that Youth Go Green started the Youth and Children Climate Academy, which has carried out and supported youth school engagement activities and empowering them to be environmental stewards. So children are not too young to lead, but they only need to be involved, and they need structured support to make sure that they deliver on this process. Francis, you can go to another slide. Let's look at young women in water and environment. I think I've talked about that slide as well. So let's go into another slide which talks about women, young women in water and environment. Because as we all know, Francis, go to another slide. Young women are the front line of water management. You find them collecting water, you find them managing household sanitation, you find them supporting agriculture activities, you find them leading saving groups. However, they face barriers. I know Jacinta also hinted on this. They have no access, they have limited access to land, they have limited representation in government structures. Yes, that is very true. You find that very many women do not participate in elective positions, except maybe the higher platforms like members of parliament and so on. But the lower positions, they tend not to, and that is why they have no interest. So we must intentionally create space for young women in leadership, starting from the local level to the national level. When you look at the policy and structure recommendations, I said maybe I looked at what must change, what do we need to change to ensure that the youth and children, women are involved in providing solutions to this environmental, water and climate change engagement. So we must integrate young people in the district's water and environment committees. This is an example. Every district must institutionalize youth, women and children participation. We also must establish youth-focused innovation funds. For instance, in making sure that their innovations are fully supported and funded, we must ensure that their innovations are given opportunity. We must strengthen the partnerships between youth-led organizations and local governments. So there are young people who are undertaking activities in their respective regions. For instance, you find that there are youth who are already establishing and operating nursery beds, 3 nursery beds. But we would want to see that district local governments are actually supporting them. If they want to restore a particular area, the districts must be able to support and purchase their seedlings from them so that they are really, really supported. We have case studies. We have one of the very powerful youth organization which is operating a nursery bed in the eastern part of Uganda called Mavera Seed Supply. These are a youth-led operation where they are really trying to raise a number of indigenous trees and fruits. And we must applaud you, Rogers Mugoda. I think is one of those who is really promoting reforestation, but also trying to promote commercial forestry among the young people. And that's a very, very good example, which we need to support. We must also support our young people, women and youth, especially around alignment with the Uganda's development plans. For instance, we must make sure that we align their activities with the NDPs. For instance, on green growth priorities, we must make sure that we engage young people, train them, build their capacity on how we can do alignment with the Uganda's development plans. We must also track the youth contributions in sector performance reporting. So if the Ministry of Water and Environment is giving its sector performance report, there must be areas where these youth contributions are recognized in such reports. When you look at the Sustainable Development Goal, number 6, number 13, climate action, life on land, and 17, all these emphasize inclusive and participatory approaches. So leveraging youth power is aligned with Uganda's international commitments. Uganda's demographic structure makes youth inclusion in water and environment services really not an option. It shouldn't be an option, colleagues, but it should be a strategic move. If 75% of our population is young, then sustainable service delivery must structurally integrate young people as implementers, as innovators, and decision-making partners. So I also try to look at some of the institutional representation and governance of young people. For instance, at the district local government, do we have youth quotas in water user committees? Do we have women representation in the district environment committees? Do we have the PWDs in these committees? Where are the inclusion of young professionals in technical working groups? There are very many government programs, but where do we have young professionals integrated, involved in technical working groups? So we must also see their participation in national and global platforms. For instance, the COP process. I'm happy that the government Ministry of Water and Environment has tried this level based to engage young people in the COP processes. So we must make it clear that this is about decision-making power, not attendance. Let's just give us another slide. Let me now look at from participation to partnerships. The shift we need is very, very simple. Not just inviting youth to speak, but budgeting for the youth implementation activities. Not just showcasing youth innovations, but procuring services from their enterprises. For instance, there are very, very many youth-led enterprises, but you find that they are ignored. They are not even invited to bid. In the procurement processes, you will not find any youth-led enterprise being directly targeted, that these are going to be our suppliers. So one would wonder, when will these young people also, develop or even improve and scale their initiatives? So that is the real leveraging of capacity. When we do all this, what is the expected impact? If youth and children are fully integrated in these processes, we will see water infrastructure becoming better maintained. We will see ecosystem restoration scaling up. We will see climate resilience improving. We will see youth unemployment reducing, but also environmental awareness being deepened. And this is a strategic investment that we should be able to look at. I would want to conclude. I think this is going to be the last slide. Francis, if you could give us a slide where we are looking at leveraging the youth power not as charity. It should be a smart governance opportunity that we could involve young people, children, and youth. Involving young people, leveraging their power is a very good economic strategy. It is a sustainability planning. So let us move from engaging youth to integrating them in this process. It's a very, very critical move, and I'm happy on behalf of the young people that we looked at this particular sub-theme, which talks about these special interest groups, including children and youth. And we are happy that the ministry is really providing platforms of this nature. I will leave you with one last quote, that the future of the youth, the future of water and environment sustainability in Uganda will not be delivered for young people, women, and children, but they will deliver it. I must thank you so much for listening to me, and apologies where there was some internet challenges here and there. Thank you so much, and thank you, moderator, for giving me an opportunity to share this information. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another applause to Mr. Edwin Muhumuza. Thank you very much for breaking down this sub-theme for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that these two presentations have been very, very brilliant, and they have helped us to understand why the theme on leveraging the power and capacity of women, youth, and children in the delivery of water and environment services is key in the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2026. They have highlighted why the women, youth, and the children are important, contributing greatly to the development of the country, the challenges they are faced with, the opportunities that are available, but also the approaches we can use to engage them, but of course, the missing links, the things we need to do to ensure that they are utilized fully in what the country is doing to ensure that you have a tenfold growth strategy. So again, engaging youth, women, and children will bring very, very many benefits, as Jacinta and Edwin have highlighted. We would want to thank Environment Alert and its networks and Youth Go Green and the various partners for really doing a lot of work to ensure that the voices of women, children, and youth are actually heard. And as you have concluded, Edwin, the future of water and environment sustainability in Uganda will not be delivered for young people, women, and children. They will deliver it for themselves if they are given opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not doing well with time. I do hope that we have some questions in the chat. We'll allow just a few questions, maybe 3 or 4, but just to inform you that this is something we discussed extensively during the Uganda Water and Environment Week. This was a curtain raiser, a kasiki of sorts, so that you get to know what is happening. And I think Jacinta and Edwin have put it very, very well on how we can leverage the power and capacity of women, youth, and children, and what we need to do to this power capacity is maximize it. So Edwin and Jacinta, if there are questions in the chat, feel free to respond to them in the chat or through speaking. But in case there are any questions, comments, the floor is open. If you can put up your hands, I will be able to give you an opportunity as we try to bring this session to an end. But check in the chat if there's any question, Edwin, that you need to respond to. Comments don't have to be responded to, but if there's any question, you can respond to them.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm only seeing someone, I think it's a comment, says that there is a youth group promoting wetland farming of rice and vegetables. What would be your take on this unemployment versus environment? I think it's a comment, but also a question at the end. And Edwin Okabo, who has asked this, there is a youth group promoting wetland farming of rice and vegetables. What would be your take? Now, this is something they call the wise use of wetlands. And I think it's very, very important that we can wisely use our wetlands. We can use our wetlands to promote food production, but at the same time, making sure that the wetland is conserved. So there are certain practices. For instance, I think the government has been discouraging rice farming along the wetland, the catchment areas. But there are some income generating activities that we can undertake that conserve the wetlands, but at the same time provide livelihood options. For instance, fish farming. We are looking at establishment of the ponds, fish ponds. That is something that we can actually look at. The vegetable growing. There are some vegetables which are very good when you plant them along the water catchment areas, for instance. So there are certain practices which we must practice. And of course, yes, I know we are looking at unemployment as a very critical issue, but at least it is very, very important that we needed also to wisely use our wetlands. And if we promote the wise use of wetlands across the country, then we'll be good to go. Someone is asking, how does one get to, this is Taewa Fiona, how does one get to join your organization? Thank you. Yeah, it's very okay and very simple. You can reach out to us. We are actually a network of young people, over 2 million youth across Uganda subscribe to us. And get our website, youthgogreen.org. You'll be able to connect with us. You'll get our contact information and you reach out to us. And then we can guide you on how you can join. Richard Erechu says, thanks for the information. May I find out whether involving women and youth in briquette making help environment conservation? If so, how can this be scaled up? This is one of the very good projects. We call them the Green Jobs initiatives. Charcoal briquettes production, first of all, you are using, for instance, agricultural waste to make charcoal briquettes. And this has actually been said to reduce the rate of deforestation in the country. We have got a training center with one of our youth groups, partner organization in Sonde, where we are training young people in making charcoal briquettes. And this is something that women and youth can actually get into. We only need to build your capacity in terms of providing the tools to use and the technologies to use. So the focus would be collecting garbage or waste, and then we recycle it. By doing that, you're producing charcoal, what we call the renewable energy. You are saving the forests and trees, but at the same time, you're generating income. And I think that's a very good one, Richard. And you can definitely reach out to us and give you some more details on how this can happen and how we can be able to share. Someone is also asking if we can share our contacts. I think it's very okay. The Secretariat will be happy to share our details. This is Barasa Jerry. I will be happy to share with you our contacts, but also reach out to our website, also our X spaces or Twitter page, Youth Go Green. You will definitely get to us. I think, Doctor, those are the few. Let me see. There is Mercy Chigongo. Thank you so much for the suggestion and contribution. I can take note of this and encourage everyone attending this meeting to take note as well as include their respective youth-related programs. Absolutely. That's very okay. Yeah, I think those are the few comments and questions. The rest, I think, are for Jacinta, who has already, I think, responded to them. But thank you very much for giving us the chance.
Okay, thank you very much, Edwin. Jacinta, in maybe 1-2 minutes, any final comments?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair, and the listeners, the participants during this engagement. So what I've done, I've shared the presentation in the chat, so you can have access to it. But I've also shared my contacts. I know there are quite a number of questions here and there, and because we are time pressed, just feel free to inbox me, call me, send me an email or a WhatsApp, and we can take the discussions forward from there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, let's appreciate Edwin and Jacinta for the brilliant presentations. As they have shared, reach out to them for any further information as appropriate. As we bring this webinar to an end, I just want to remind those of you that have not been part of this webinar series. We started our webinar series on 11th February 2026, where we had an overall webinar looking at the overall theme of the Uganda Water and Environment Week, which is Water and Environment for an Inclusive and Prosperous Uganda. And during that webinar, we also gave you background information on the Uganda Water and Environment Week. Also presented what is going to be done during the Uganda Water and Environment Week. Those presentations are available, and in case there is anybody who is interested in those presentations, reach out to the Secretariat. But in that session, we elaborated why we selected that overall theme and what it means to Uganda, and how water and environment resources are going to be key in moving this country from where we are to a middle income status. We had a follow-up webinar on sub-theme 1, which was on the role of water and environment in achieving Uganda's tenfold growth strategy. And that webinar, we're privileged to have very good speakers, one from Minister of Finance, Mr. Moses Sonko, who is the principal economist, and also Mr. Ronald Kagwa from National Planning Authority, who is the manager. And they took us through what Uganda requires to do to achieve a tenfold growth strategy, and how water and environment resources are going to be key in achieving this. They highlighted issues related to financing and what we can do to ensure that we mobilize innovative financing from various sources. We had a third webinar which was focusing on sub-theme 2, investing in science, technology, innovation, and capacity building to enhance progress in water and environment management and development. And we're privileged to have Mr. Fred Onduli Machuli, who is the lead negotiator for Uganda on technology transfer under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and highlighted to us why it is important to invest in technology and how technology and innovation are going to be key in addressing the challenges we face with as a country, and how we can mobilize resources from various climate windows, the Global Environment Facility, Green Climate Fund, and the Adaptation Fund, Least Developed Countries Fund, to be able to actually achieve our objectives. We had the fourth seminar, which was held last Friday. It was focusing on ensuring environmental sustainable and climate resilient economies, and this was covering sub-theme 3 of the Uganda Water and Environment Week. And we had Mr. Bob Natif, the Acting Commissioner for Climate Change, and Engineer Annette Nantongo, Principal Water Officer in the Ministry of Water and Environment, taking us through how we can improve resilience and also ensure that water and environment resources are managed and developed sustainably to meet the needs of the country, and also to ensure that we have resilient economies and communities. So today we have had our last webinar. This was the 5th webinar, which is the 4th sub-theme of the Uganda Water and Environment Week, which was on leveraging the power and capacity of women, youth, and children in the delivery of water and environment services. And you have heard the story, you have heard why it is important to engage the young people, the children, and the women as well as possible, and how these are going to be key in Uganda's development aspirations and in achieving our Vision 2040 through the National Development Plans. So this brings the end our webinars, which have been precursor to the Uganda Water and Environment Week. And I do hope that you are geared up for the Uganda Water and Environment Week, which will take place start from 23rd to 27th of March. Again, we shall have opportunities from eminent keynote presenters, panelists, again from Uganda, from region and beyond Africa, that will go deeper and discuss this. And some of the issues we have captured from these webinars are going to form part of the panel questions. We'll be putting some of the questions to our panelists to help us actually respond to some of the issues we have highlighted. Some of you, of course, will be panelists, but a number of us will be listening in and you will have opportunities to ask questions. At the end of the Uganda Water and Environment Week, we shall come up with concrete recommendations and actions to address these issues. Also to remind you that we will be starting the walk for water, environment, and climate change next Monday, 2nd March. This walk is going to start from Moroto in Karamoja and is going to traverse a number of districts and will end in Kampala on 20th of March. So you can see it is taking 18 days. So let's pray for walkers and those of you who are along the route. We want to request you to join the walkers. And on 20th, we shall be welcoming the walkers here at the Ministry of Water and Environment headquarters. So again, take note so that we can welcome the walkers. But there are also a number of activities going on in the regional offices of the ministry. We have 6 regional offices. We have an office in Moroto, an office in Mbale, an office in Lira, an office in Wakiso, an office in Mbarara, and an office in Fort Portal. So we'll be having a number of activities going on. So those of you who have activities in the regions, reach out to the regional offices and participate actively as we gear up to the national events. And of course, we'll be having cleanup exercises and many, many other events. So without wasting any more time, I want to thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen. We do appreciate the time you have spared to attend these webinars. We want to thank the various speakers. We want to thank the team at the Water Resources Institute for organizing these webinars. Personally, I have found them very informative. I've participated in all of them. And I do hope that all of you feel the same. I have learned a lot, and I hope you have learned a lot, and that's how you can develop. There is no monopoly of knowledge. We will always learn and continue to learn. So thank you very much, and I wish you a nice day until we meet again for the prevent activities, for welcoming the workers, and for the main Uganda Water and Environment Week. Thank you very much, and this brings to an end our webinars for the Uganda Water and Environment Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you all the participants, and bye.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor, and thank you everybody for participating.
Okay, good then.